my teaching portfolio. In the front of it, I have my practicum information, so I have photos here of the third grade classroom I worked in. So you can see there's the teacher's desk, and she has all of her paper, different types of paper, cardstock, line paper, graph paper, next to her desk where the students can get to it, and over here in the corners, she has her libraries. And then in this picture, you can kind of see has Mrs. Mitchell is teaching up at the front, and she has her students grouped into groups of tables with 4 kids on each table. And then back here in the back of the classroom, she has 2 round tables that we work in small groups in. Back here is just another picture of the small group tables that we use, and another whiteboard that she likes to keep the student's schedule for the day on and any other important information they need. And here's her filing cabinets with all of her lesson plans and plans for the subs and just copies she needs. And in this picture, it shows all of her extra books and other materials she needs every day. And this door right here has all the students' names on it. And little owls, that's their theme of the year. And then in the back of the classroom, she shares this section with her co-teacher, where they have Mrs. Mitchell and Mrs. Glucky for the students to be able to turn in their homework for the day. Now in this cupboard, they had every row of Tupperwares had a different lid on it, and they stood for different types of craft materials they needed, or pencils or markers. And so this row would have been all different types of markers, whether it was permanent markers, colored markers, markers to use on whiteboards. The next one were different types of pencils, scissors, glue sticks, extra erasers, whatever craft materials they needed. And this is just another picture with her little cupboard with all of the materials she needs. And then here's the 2 classroom computers that they can go on for free time, or if they need to catch up on their math minutes, or Times Attack, which is a math lesson that they have to do every day. And in the back of it, I just have my practicum experience journals and the experiences I wrote up about and the dialogue. And so there's my B dialogue and my C dialogue with my teacher. And here's all of the notes I took from LED 305. My next section of my portfolio is all about the lessons and the assignments that I did in LED 3000. So here's my family tree that we had to do in class, and it shows all the history and the names of everybody that's on my family tree. This next one is my autobiography / biography that I did on my grandfather and myself. This next one was my favorite reflection, which was on the anthropology and education. And I think this was one of my favorite reflections that I did. I had a lot more to say about it and a bigger opinion on it. The next section I had was my influential educator report, which I did on Benjamin Bloom. My next one is my teaching philosophy, which I did in LED 305. And a lot of it just talks about how my main goal in the classroom is to help kids love to learn again, which that's what is going to be one of my main sections in my classroom, and one of my main goals is just to get kids back down to the basics and just enjoy being at school every day. The last section I have is my 25 things I learned in LED 305. In the back of it, I have all the notes I took down in class every day, as well as all these of all my extra discussion posts and my reflection posts that we did. And then my next section is I took a class at Snow College where we were able to do a bunch of micro lessons, and I have a bunch of those in the back. But this is my next section, which is all of my favorite readings we did in class, and I have them highlighted, and they're all inside the sleeve. As you can tell, I have a bunch highlighted here and here and here. And this was my absolute favorite article we read about because it talked about arranged marriages in the Muslim culture, which I had never had such an in-depth knowledge on, and now I understand a lot more. I'm glad I have that perspective so I can go into my teaching career having that knowledge, and I won't be biased, or I won't have an uneducated attitude towards arranged marriages, and I can help my students in the best way possible. My next favorite article was it was called "Still Separate, Still Unequal: America's Educational Apathy," which this one really brought to my eyes, which I lived in such a rural town growing up, and where I didn't see a lot of racism or segregation or anything like that. We were always very welcoming to anybody that was different than us, and this brought to my eyes the differences that there is in America still today, and it's sad, which I think we need to know as educators that it's still out there. My last favorite article that we read was A Teacher's Guide to Religion in the Public Schools, which I thought was such a great article to read and have knowledge that it is okay to talk about religion in the school, but we have to remain unbiased and have a teaching standpoint on it instead of a preaching standpoint on it. The next few sections I have just is all the micro lessons I talked about earlier, and in these I have lessons. The first section, all of my micro lessons I can do in math, and as you can see, I have quite a few actually. I actually have in here also different worksheets and lessons that we did when I worked at a migrant school this past summer. That all the teachers had me work with students that they said to take and to put in my portfolio that I was making. And in the next section, I have a bunch of, let me get to it. These are all of my language arts micro lessons. And these, like this one, for instance, we talk about, it's a first of the year art project that we do, but the students have to write up all of their favorite things, and then they get to draw a hand on it, and we put them up on a bulletin board and say, we're all in for this school year. The next sections I have in the back are all of my science and art and music micro lessons that I've created. And in the back of here, I also have different attention getters that I've gathered and procedures that I've gathered and liked over in my practicum, or whether it's been I've seen teachers I've worked at the elementary school use that I've really enjoyed, and so I've written down ones I liked and want to implement them in my classroom. In the back of here, I just have all of my notes that I've taken throughout all of my LED classes and my math classes that I've taken over the years that I really wanted to keep notes on because they have such great knowledge that I can turn back to in my classroom someday to help my students. Well, that is my educational portfolio, and I hope you liked it. Thank you.